afternoon, people of the league. As your ex-commissioner, I wanted to thank everyone in the league named Levi, since he appreciated my time as league commissioner. The rest of you can go fuck yourself.
You will remember the fantasy season of 2019, where I, KY Jelly, pulled out my gigantic and girthy third leg and proceeded to plunge each and every one of my fantasy enemies in their chocolate starfish.
Hello, everyone. This is your 2020 commissioner speaking, duly elected. I would like to show appreciation to the previous administration for getting us where we are, giving me this opportunity to lead.
Better places.
It could not have happened without his cynical, sinister collusion.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast.
Football, baby. Football.
Football's back. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional watching College Game Day. I teared up a little bit. Me and Kirk we were sharing tears yesterday. No, I'm just so excited football's back, and I mean, when the Chiefs play, I might cry again. I really. On a side note, yesterday Nikki did this really cool thing because my birthday we didn't celebrate it. So what she did was she decorated the whole apartment in Chiefs gear and like had like barbecue, and she ordered Q39 sauce. So like on the yeah, I know, on the table it was like everything was Chiefs like decorated in our apartment. Actually, it's still decorated. And then when I walked in the house, there was an open plate of Fox Brothers barbecue with Q39 sauce. The Super Bowl teed up in a cooler full of beer.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty clutch right there.
And so we rewatched the Super Bowl, and it hit me, and I started crying. No, it's like seriously, I started shedding tears like a little baby. And that was the first time it hit me that we won. And then I was like, shit, Thursday, we're back.
It's back. Yeah, and I saw the ring ceremony with all the Chiefs players opening their rings. Leave it up to the Georgia player to drop the ring on the ground, McCole Hardman.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, so just to kind of go back, Aaron, we had a hell of a draft. As you saw some of the videos. It was really well done. Thank you, Kyle. Shout out. It was one of the, we laughed a lot. We had good food. We were drinking, drafting, played Olympics. And so just kind of go over the highlights. Obviously, we had Kevin's speech, which is pretty epic.
And then draft day, that's just like Christmas for us guys now. Yeah. It's like Christmas morning.
It really is. It's like, I don't know.
It's the best time of the year.
It really is.
Absolutely.
And so we had some Olympics played. Biko got first place. That's why he got first pick. He did really well, surprisingly.
He's tired of finishing in last.
Yeah, he was like, I'm done. And then Kevin gave a hell of a speech. Kyle's speech was blah, whatever. And then Taylor's speech was god awful. Bika was the sticker bitch, and at some point he just stopped being that and just started scribbling names, like scribbling shit.
Yeah, literally scribbling,
which is I thought pretty funny. So today's episode, we had a lot of people excited about this one, okay? Because we got Aaron, the football fantasy headmaster of our league, I'll say. He's going to break down each team's. He's had a chance all week to look at it. He's going to give us a letter grade for how he thinks that we drafted. And then we're going to go over some of his favorite picks in the draft, and then talk about some trades after that. So, Aaron, yeah, let's go ahead and start with Biko's team and just make our way through all 12 members.
Yeah, no doubt. And as always, thanks for having me back on again. Just to give a backdrop of the methodology here is I'm using, like you said, traditional letter grades. And for each pick, what I'm looking at to determine what the grade is two things, right? One is, what is the player's bargain type of value, right? Like, is this a steal? Did we reach? Did we get a guy right on his ADP? The other thing I'm looking at is the floor ceiling combo, right? Are we being sensitive to what a player's floor is? Are we being sensitive to what a player's ceiling is? And are we factoring all of that into our draft? So I wrote a little program just to help myself do this. So as far as the grades go, if you want to start off with Biko,
You wrote a program?
Yeah, I wrote.
What does that mean?
Basically, just like a little Python script to go through and just kind of help me.
Oh, you're coding shit. Okay.
Yeah, just like to help me go through and put like the grades together. But I manually graded each pick, and then I just dumped those in the program to give me like what the whole grade is.
Oh shit! Wow.
Dude,
so
that is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool little thing. And so kind of the deal for me is I didn't have access to names, right? In full disclosure, my board that you guys gave me, I just got team 1, team 2.
Which I liked. I liked it.
So that's how I'm going to refer to these teams.
Nice.
So team 1, the draft grade was a 3.19, which essentially is about a C, right? That's right on a C. And the main reason for this one, going through, there were some picks this guy made that I liked, but there was one F pick, which was his 5th round investment into Philip Lindsay.
Oh gosh.
We all made fun of him for drafting that guy in the 5th round.
Yeah, so I guess I don't really need to like super dive into why that was a bad pick.
Well, and real quick too, that's Biko's team, and you already shitted on him about the Dolphins, saying that they had the worst offensive line in human history. So
last season, it's improved this year, though. It is improved, so there's reason to be excited. I think they should be a little bit more balanced offensively this year, and maybe more competitive. So it's not all bad for Biko. But yeah, overall, just a draft I really didn't love. Didn't really see, like, again, we talk about upside, at the bottom of the draft. Didn't really see a ton of upside there. Also, if we're going 2 quarterbacks, I don't really understand that, first of all. But second of all, if we are going to get 2 quarterbacks, I think it should just be, we're just taking shots at the bottom of the draft on 2 guys. The next one, team 2, actually had the highest grade. This was a 4.06, came out with a super strong B. And just for reference, like most.
So no one got an A?
No one got an A. So
Good
I didn't have a draft grade on any of these.
Jesus, really?
Really. But to be fair, I was grading these pretty critically.
That's a good thing.
And I was grading them from the standpoint of kind of like what standard would I hold myself to in a draft and for a 12-man PPR league. And every draft did have mistakes that I thought were pretty glaring, including team 2. But yeah, team 2 had the highest grade, sort of by far, actually.
So that actually makes my roster baiting after the draft legitimate then.
Yeah, it pisses me off, Kyle. Your team is very good.
Just going off the draft value alone, for reference, I had you at a 4.06. The next closest was a 3.6. So pretty healthily number 1. And some of the things that I really liked about this draft is their first, few picks just being really aggressive and drafting with their entire roster in mind. This is one of the only drafts that I don't think I gave, and I don't think I gave an F for any of his single picks. The lowest grades he had for single picks was a C. So I really like that. And you look at the way he attacked this draft, getting a stud running back early on, we understand that. But I love how when you come out of the first 5 rounds, this guy's got at least 2 running backs he's going to be able to start. He's got at least 2 wide receivers he's going to be able to start each and every week. DK was an awesome steal. And look at his bottom of the draft. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about we should be looking for upside, right? Zach Moss, just big upside. Deontay Johnson, big upside. Antonio Gibson, just big upside. And if those guys don't hit, he's not going to care because he's already got two running backs. He's already got a few wide receivers. So this is the way people should be attacking the draft. He's one of the only ones that did it. And my favorite pick of his was Preston Williams, really, really late.
Yeah.
God damn!
Did you want to say anything on that?
Kyle did not need to hear any of that.
Well, I mean,
Golly,
look,
man.
there's a couple things I want to just point out because I'm here to defend myself and none of these other guys are, so screw y'all. But the 2019 champ, it's going to be tough to take him down in 2020. To be the best, you're going to have to beat the best. And I wanted to get Aaron's opinion. I took Zeke over Saquon. I don't know. It was just a gut feeling there. Saquon has a tough opening schedule, but then it sort of eases up later on in the year. And then obviously the Ronald Jones pick, looking back, I wish I could have changed that, but that was before the Fournette news.
Right, and that's another thing I should point out is I did make sure to grade this, trying to put myself in the headspace of where you guys were before the draft. So obviously we didn't know Adrian Peterson was cut. We didn't know Leonard Fournette was cut. And obviously we didn't know he was going to sign with the Bucs. So that's why I still gave you like a decent grade on the Ronald Jones pick, because again, you utilized one of my favorite draft strategies this year, which is an anchored running back approach. Basically what that is, you're saying, hey, I'm going to get the most stud running back I possibly can in the first round. Then I'm going to attack wide receivers and tight ends in those middle rounds. So like the David Johnson pick, I didn't love. You know, I would have preferred you grabbing another one of those wide receivers there. And the only other thing I didn't really like about your draft is drafting Baker Mayfield. But this is something that basically all of you guys did is taking two quarterbacks, which
I did not.
Right, you didn't.
Yeah.
I showed you some love for that, but most of you guys in this league took two QBs, and I just don't see the upside in it, right? Because like if we are doing that, then that means that the first QB I took, I must not be that confident in, or I'm planning on just playing the matchups. And so I didn't really penalize you heavily for it because you didn't take your first QB until the 11th round. So in that case, I'm saying, okay, this is a guy that's saying, I'm going to look at the matchups every week. Whoever has a better matchup between Rodgers and Baker Mayfield, that's who I'm going to start. So for that, I don't ding you for it, but that's just not like a strategy I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like to me, easily the strongest draft.
And I'm writing down. I put everyone's initials and I'm putting all the letter grades. So after you're done, Aaron, I'll just read everyone's letter grade off.
Okay, and in a normal year, I probably wouldn't have taken two quarterbacks there, but being the COVID-19 situation that's happening, if Aaron Rodgers comes up with COVID-19 like later on in the day and there's nobody left on the waivers, that's the only reason I took two quarterbacks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Kind of some of the other spots where I really, really hate it is when people invested, like a top 6 round pick in a QB and then they're taking another QB in the 10th round. Like, what are you doing? So I'll head over to the team 3 here. I've got a C- for them.
Okay.
Basically,
if you're listening and not looking at the YouTube video, this is Kevin.
Okay. So this one, there were some good picks here, some solid picks, but I gave him an F grade for a few picks. One of them was his 8th round selection. Taking Adrian Peterson. Now, again, this wasn't a hindsight of, AP got cut, so I'm giving him an F. The reason I was giving him an F here was, one, because of some of the other players available at this point, and 2, again, where is the upside, right? Even if we believe Adrian Peterson was going to be the lead back in Washington, this is clearly a person that didn't do their homework. They didn't come into the draft prepared and researched, because if we have been paying attention, we know this is an offense that is going to be throwing the football this season. So investing in a running back who has no involvement in the pass game to speak of whatsoever in a full point per reception league in the 8th round, it's egregious. I mean, this is just crazy to me.
I love it.
And then later on, I gave him an F on a few other picks. His 13th round selection, going Keyshawn Vaughn. Again, this is just, let's do our homework, friends, right? Let's go into the draft and know a little bit about these teams. What's the situation? If we paid attention to Tampa Bay at all, we know that Keyshawn Vaughn is in the doghouse from a fantasy perspective standpoint, because Tom Brady isn't at the place where he trusts him. Keyshawn Vaughn did not profile very well as a pass blocker coming out of the draft. Then they went ahead and added LaShawn McCoy, obviously, to be more of a pass blocker. So investing in Keyshawn Vaughn here, again, just no upside whatsoever. Why aren't you getting a Boston Scott? Why aren't you getting a Chase Edmonds? People who could have a role day one, and if their lead back goes down, you've got a fantasy superstar. Total waste of a pick. Ito Smith, total waste of a pick as well. Just really boggles my mind what we're doing here. And in the second round, I think this guy totally whiffed by going DeAndre Hopkins. I already talked about DeAndre Hopkins on our last pod. He's the number one bust for me at wide receiver. Investing in him at the second round, I just think is a big mistake. And I think this guy's going to struggle. Moving on, team 4, I also gave a C- grade.
C-, okay.
And this is Worley.
Worley, yeah.
Okay. And this one is a little bit different because I actually didn't give this person an F on any of their single picks. They did get a couple of Ds, but the reason why I ended up still having such a low grade is I just don't love the upside here. Now, Austin Eckler is my favorite pick that this person made in the second round, but we're turning around, we're investing in Melvin Gordon in the third. That's such a speculative situation to me that third round draft capital is just way too expensive. Then we go to Marquise Brown. We're taking a really big bet here, right? If you've already got 2 wide receivers and you're adding Marquise Brown as your wide receiver 3, I might give you an A grade on that, right? Because it's pure upside. But he drafted Marquise Brown as his wide receiver 1. That's
tough, man.
That's not a good situation because even at best, how do we pencil him in for 5+ targets a game? This is a guy who's probably going to be a big boom bust player, very frustrating the roster. Then he shored himself up with a AJ Green wide receiver 2, Sterling Shepard wide receiver 3. I think this is an owner that's going to be really frustrated on a week-to-week basis this season, trying to figure out who to start. And on their bench, I just don't love it because where's the upside here, right? They got some handcuffs, but they didn't get anybody that's like, oh, they have really big upside like a Henry Ruggs or a Deontay Johnson. So that's why I ended up having such a low grade for them. Team 5.
What do you think about Patrick Mahomes, 4th overall in a PPR league?
Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes, that's a pick for that particular grade. I just give it a C, right? I give it a C.
Such
and for the record, most teams I gave an A for their first round pick. Most teams. The 2 teams that took QB in their first round, I gave them a C. And the reason why is the draft capital you're investing by taking a quarterback in the first round is extreme. And what we need to think about when we're evaluating players and saying, okay, what kind of draft price am I going to invest? We need to be thinking about our opportunity cost, right? And what I mean by that is if at the 5th overall pick or the 4th overall pick, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, what that means is I no longer have access to one of the best fantasy running backs in football. The fact of the matter is when you get outside of the first round, your probability of having a top 10 fantasy running back in football decreases immensely. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So all I was going to say is, so your opportunity cost there is you're saying, okay, instead of making sure I've got one of the best fantasy running backs in football, which by the way, when you're picking in the top 5, the players you have access to.
God, he had Dalvin Cook available. He had Derrick Henry available. He could have got Kamara.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of opportunity cost to me is just, it's not sensical unless you are in a league that has juiced up quarterback scoring, or if you're in a league that's a 2 quarterback system or a super flex. Now I'm operating under the assumption that you guys' league still only gives like
it's standard PPR.
Yeah, so like 0.04 points per pass yard or something like that. 4 points per passing touchdowns instead of 6. So with that being the case, the margin of difference between a Patrick Mahomes and a Carson Wentz, for example, isn't as extreme as the difference between Saquon Barkley and Raheem Mostert, right? So that's why I go with a C on that.
Okay.
All right, moving on to Thomas.
So this is Team 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Team 5 back up to a solid C.
Okay.
The deal on this team, there was one pick they made that I really disliked. So their 8th round pick, I gave an F grade. Let me see who that was. Oh yeah, Matt Breida. So in the 8th round, this is one that just blew my mind. Just Matt Breida, first of all, being
Dude,
drafted.
I love this. Aaron's not holding back.
I love it. This is great. Yeah, keep it coming.
Right, and it blew my mind because one, Matt Breida got drafted. Why are we drafting Matt Breida? Number 2, 8th round. So go through this draft, right?
It's like he's
And I'm circling through. Think about the kind of players this guy had access to: Zach Moss, Deontay Johnson, Henry Ruggs, Marvin Jones Jr., James White, Mecole, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Latavius Murray. The list goes on and on. Why on earth we're investing in a running back who's going to be the number 2 in Miami for an offense that we expect to run the ball a little bit more? But what do we think is going to happen? Matt Breida is going to come out and be some kind of poor man's Christian McCaffrey? He was beloved in San Francisco and still could not reach fantasy relevance. Why do we think that's going to happen on a team that is not going to have a strong defense? They're not going to have positive game script for running backs. This is an example to me of just a completely wasted draft pick. So for that reason, I really knocked him down because there were a lot of things I liked that he did in his draft. A couple other big mistakes, I think, was Mark Ingram in the 4th. Now, Mark Ingram,
yeah, that was high.
Yeah, and Mark Ingram, look, if you're taking him as your RB2 or something and you're like, hey, this guy could still get 10 plus touchdowns again, I think that's speculative, but sure, maybe. The reason I can't forgive this player or this owner for drafting Mark Ingram in the 4th is they already took James Conner in the 2nd, which was a big reach. So if you took a reach on that, what's your expectation? Are you really planning to play Mark Ingram in the flex? You can't be planning to play Mark Ingram in the flex in a full point per reception league. You can't be. So if you took Mark Ingram here, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead and finish up the Mark Ingram thing.
Oh, so I was just going to say, so if you took Mark Ingram here, then that must mean you have a little bit of concern about James Conner. And if you have a little bit of concern about James Conner, why are we investing a 2nd round draft pick in him? I also didn't like Kyler Murray in the 5th round. You know, if you're going to take a QB that early, I need a guy who's throwing 30 touchdowns. I need a guy who's throwing 4,500 yards. And if you're really expecting Kyler Murray to go from 3,700 yards and 20 touchdowns his rookie season all the way up to 45 touchdowns or 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns this season,
more woes.
Then I'm wondering why you didn't just try to stack this entire Cardinals offense, because you're clearly very bullish. So really, really didn't like some of those mistakes. And then this is another person who invested a 5th round pick in Kyler Murray, then still took Drew Brees in the 11th. You know, again, I don't see kind of the thought process. This didn't look to me to be a drafter who was very conscious about their roster construction or about their upside or the scoring of the league they're in.
Yeah, and then you look at bye weeks here. Week 8, you got James Conner on bye, Mark Ingram on a bye, Kyler Murray on a bye. So he's going to start Matt Breida week 8.
Yeah, man, like that's just. I mean, I feel for him. That's a brutal situation. Team 6, this one looks like actually had the worst grade.
All right, this is Charlie.
This one came in with about a D+.
D+. Okay.
So kind of the deal with this draft is lots of picks that I gave an F grade to. And this goes up as high as the 5th and 6th round on Team 6. You look at in the 5th and 6th, they go Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan. Now you might be thinking, hey, Deshaun Watson's fucking good, bro. What are you talking about? Matt Ryan, he's going to throw for fucking 30 touchdowns. What are you talking about? I completely agree. The problem is he took Lamar Jackson in the 1st round. Why? You invested a 1st round draft pick on a quarterback. Why the fuck are you taking another quarterback round? 6, and then you did it again in the 6th round. This is the kind of stuff that when I go through a draft and I'm breaking teams down, this is the kind of stuff that legitimately pisses me off. It makes me like angry because I'm so frustrated. I'm like, what are we doing? And I love their Tyreek Hill pick. I love the Chris Carson pick. And so to waste a 5th and a 6th, this team could have been so strong. They could have been so strong.
Dude, just looking at it, you could have had Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell. Jeez.
Yeah, and that's why I say it pisses me off, because Jarvis Landry was a solid pick. Hunter Henry in the 8th is just fine. Anthony Miller has upside. Like, there's so many things that were solid here, and they just totally wasted time in the 5th and 6th round. And that's a crucial point of the draft. Look at the kind of names coming off the board here. Really frustrated me. So if that person watches this, please don't take it personal and be offended. I just need you to get better. Get better next season. Don't do this. You know, if you're going to go QB early, do not take another one. If I'm drafting Lamar Jackson in the 1st round, you better believe he is the only quarterback that's going to be on my roster. So got fired up on that one. That team really pissed me off.
Maybe he thought it was a.
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
I was gonna say maybe he thought it was a 3 quarterback league. I don't know.
So this is just to give some insight into this. Charlie literally was the guy who we got to fill in 7 days before our draft.
Oh, and so that's the guy who came from the 2 QB league then,
yes,
right?
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Okay,
so,
okay.
But
so, yeah.
But no, it doesn't matter because he texted all of us and said, "I'm drafting a quarterback every pick now," and we had to stop him at 3. So you would have been even more angry if we hadn't stopped him. I know, but just to give a little bit of background on that.
I'm going to take that opportunity to put something out that I think is really underutilized when it comes to fantasy football players drafting, which is read the scoring rules for your league, friends and family. When you are in a draft, I don't care if you have been in this league for 20 years. I don't care if you just joined this league an hour ago. Head on over to the ESPN website. Go to the league homepage. Click on standings or settings. Go to scoring. You're going to be able to see how points get applied in this league. You should use that information in your draft. So even for this person coming from a 2 QB league, the first thing he should have done is take a look. Hey, do we have 2 QBs in this league? How does quarterback scoring work in this league? Are quarterbacks less valuable here? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. And if you don't, then you end up with a team just like that, probably going to be outside the playoffs.
Hopefully.
All right, so going to Team 7. Team 7, I gave, it was a little bit torn. I almost went to a C+, but I'm sticking with a solid C for Team 7. And the deal with Team 7 is they had some picks that I loved, man. I loved the way they started this draft.
Well, before, this is a guy who was on auto draft.
Yeah, little heads up. This was auto draft.
This is an auto draft. So that probably explains why
some picks were good, some picks were bad, yeah.
Yeah, because I like the way it started off. Really hated what they did with their last few picks. So since that was an auto pick, I really won't break it down much. But outside of to say, look at what the auto pick did, guys. Look at what we can learn from. Derrick Henry, stud running back with your first pick. Miles Sanders, massive upside with your second pick. Odell Beckham Jr., massive upside with your third pick. This is a perfect way to start a draft in a 12-man PPR league. So I think we can all take a note from the auto pick on how we can take advantage of our opponents doing things like taking QBs in the first round and some of the other nonsense that we saw at the top of this draft.
Just to clarify for everybody, what Aaron's saying is that the person who was on auto draft drafted better than Charlie, Kevin, and Kyle Worley.
Yeah, so far. And I feel like Odell Beckham is always on Joey's team, so.
Wow. Yeah, Odell is one of the guys I love. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to bring way more professionalism to the offense in Cleveland this year. Improvements they made on the offensive line. This is a team that's going to look pretty similar to what we saw Minnesota look like last season with Kirk Cousins. They're going to be very run heavy, but when they throw, it's going to be play action. We all know how good that is for QBs. Having a guy like Odell Beckham who can easily stretch the field, still one of the most talented wide receivers in the game. OBJ is a guy that I'm trying to get like as often as I can. So moving on, so that was Team 7. Team 8, this is another team I came out with just a C, just kind of a.
This is Brandon.
And the deal with this draft is it's actually pretty similar. Really like what this guy did at the beginning of his draft. Really like it, but really don't like the way that they just didn't utilize their last few picks. And I kind of wanted to illustrate something with this team because, again, you look at the start, Dalvin Cook, I think that's the steal of the draft. I've got a 14-man league I'm in that's half PPR, drafting in like 2 hours. Yeah, 14 teams. And I had the number 2 pick this year in that league. I'm taking Dalvin Cook number 2 overall. Okay,
Wow.
that's how strong I feel on Dalvin. I absolutely love him. So getting him at this portion of the draft, I think, was a big win. And I like the way that they used that, going with Devontae. This is what I'm talking about when I mean a anchor running back strategy, right? They got a stud RB with their first selection. Now they can just hammer wide receiver with their next 3 picks. And they're coming out with a wide receiver crew of Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, and Adam Thielen. I mean, that's sick.
I've seen Devontae Adams go in first rounds before.
Exactly, right? So I just totally love what they did at the beginning. Kareem Hunt is an RB2. This is exactly the kind of profile of a RB2 that you're looking for when you take an anchor or zero running back approach. In a PPR league, you want a guy that you can say, look, they can get at least 4 targets a game. Kareem Hunt, we saw from the time he got active last season, the touch discrepancy was not very different between him and Nick Chubb. The only discrepancy was carries and targets, right? So Kareem Hunt was still getting 10 plus touches. He wasn't carrying the ball, but in a PPR league, you'd rather him be getting targets and catches anyway. Obviously, if Nick Chubb goes down, now you've got an absolute fantasy god. So love that approach. Where things get dicey, though, and I think this is a really good example of don't lean out, stay leaned in, stay aggressive, stay sharp in your drafts. Look at what they did after the 11th round, right? Hunter Renfrow. Where's the upside? This is a team that invested draft capital in Henry Ruggs, invested draft capital in Brent Edwards, has a Darren Waller that's back. Why are we talking about Hunter Renfrow? Why are we drafting him? And here's the thing to ask yourself too, when you're in these late rounds, ask yourself, is there ever a week I'm going to want to start Hunter Renfrow? Absolutely not, right? So really waste of a spot there. I believe this is a team that took 2 kickers.
Yeah, I'll just give background on that. His name is Suck My Fickin' Dick, so he felt like he had to take Fickin' to match his team name.
I mean, all right.
But he could have took him in the last round, yeah.
Then in that case, just have Fickin' be your guy, man. It's a fucking pick, okay? Like, why? Like, come on. Like, for future reference, please don't do this again. Don't draft 2 kickers. Like, first of all, you don't need to draft a kicker, guys. Like, you don't actually have to. You can just draft a team, and then come week 1, whoever, shot you took at the bottom of the draft, if they're not panning out, drop them and pick up a kicker. It doesn't matter. Don't draft 2. Please don't do that. And then 15, Mohamed Sanu. This is what I'm talking about. 0 upside. Now, of course, now we know with hindsight that I believe he was cut recently. Yeah, but even without knowing he was going to be cut, let's look at the tea leaves for this organization. They bring in a Cam Newton. Did we really think Cam Newton wasn't going to be the starting QB? No. So with Cam Newton as a starting QB, let's think about times when Cam Newton was a fantasy asset, right? Were we investing in Panthers wide receivers? No. Did we want to roster Panthers wide receivers? No. So what makes us think that Mohamed Sanu, who we already didn't want to invest in with Tom Brady, is going to be investable or have any form of a ceiling with Cam Newton? This is egregious. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where to me, what this person did is by the time they got through the 10th, they picked Jared Goff. They said, you know what? I like my team. They said, I feel good. I got some running backs. I got some wide receivers. So you know what? I can just kind of hit snooze, just take it easy. And I think this person might end up suffering for that a little bit, especially if you compare that to Kyle's team, right? Team 2. Look at the way they attacked the bottom of the draft. They just continued to add assets. So for this team, Brandon, if you're looking at yourself and you're saying, hey, I want to win a fantasy championship, that's where you need to get better. Get better at the bottom of the draft, because that's going to be the difference maker, right? So that was the caveat. I wanted to point that out. Team 9, this is another one that I went back to C-, okay? And kind of the deal with Team 9 is first 3 picks, I think we're fine. But I gave an F grade on multiple of their picks, starting with the 4th round. And when we look at this in the 4th round, Leonard Fournette. Now, I know whoever that person is that drafted this team, if they watch this, they're going to say, oh, no, fuck you, man. You're just saying that Leonard Fournette got cut. I promise you, I am not. I'm thinking about this, and I almost gave you a higher grade on that pick. But here's what happened. I recognized that you had already had 2 running backs.
Yeah.
You had Nick Chubb. You had Joe Mixon. Why are you investing a 4th round pick on a running back who can't profile as a great pass catcher? Now, before you come back and tell me, hey, wait a second, Leonard Fournette had 100 targets last year. He caught 70 balls. This is what I'm talking about when I say we need to research. We need to know what's going on. Listen to a podcast or 2. Read an article here or there. Because if you listen to a podcast or read an article, Leonard Fournette was getting named as a bust everywhere you could possibly read an article about sleepers or busts. All over the place. If y'all remember when I came on this show, I went with Todd Gurley as my bust. And what was my reasoning? Because everyone already had Leonard Fournette as their bust. And I just wanted to be different and not just say the same thing. Yeah. The writing on the wall is Jay Gruden comes in from Washington to be the offensive coordinator here in Jacksonville. Jay Gruden brought with him Chris Thompson, who we know is a guy that factors in pretty heavily into the pass game. So could we really believe that Jay Gruden was going to be targeting Leonard Fournette 100 times this season? No way. We also couldn't project that this is a team that was going to be trying to run the football and play defense. You know how we know? Because they've been in tank mode since the second half of last season. How do I know that? They're trading away all of their best defensive assets, guys. This is what I'm talking about. These are the tea leaves that we can read and recognize that, hey, for this team, we want to invest in the pass game. So I like that they recovered with DJ Shark, but imagine their team if they had taken someone like Calvin Ridley there. They could be sitting there with Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Kenny Golladay, Calvin Ridley, DJ Shark, Dak Prescott. Wow, that would be so awesome. But instead, they don't have that. And they're going to be putting Brandon Cooks in as their wide receiver 3 or flex. And that might not pan out as quickly as they think. I think Brandon Cooks could work in the second half of the year. Somebody's going to have to be the number 1. But man, wouldn't you have rather have had Brandon Cooks on your bench as a wide receiver 4? This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Let's be thinking about our roster construction. Let's be thinking about long-term upside and not just drafting based on name value.
Yeah, and some other things I don't like with that draft. You took Austin Hooper in the 9th. I'm not really high on Hooper.
Oh, yeah.
And then you took a kicker in the 11th round?
Yeah,
and
and
the 12th round.
And yeah, I mean, if we want to go in some more, you know, I was going to show a little bit of mercy, but to go in a little bit more, Austin Hooper, this is one of the worst picks of this entire draft that I looked at. This and the Matt Breida selection, just egregious, man. Why are we drafting Austin Hooper? Like, guys, and what this seems like to me is this is a guy that was like, oh, Austin Hooper, I just got him in the 9th round. What a steal. No, it's not a steal, bro. His situation is completely different. I just talked a minute ago about what we should be expecting from Cleveland because Kevin Stefanski is now the head coach. We know he's historically an offense coordinator, so very likely going to be very involved in play call, right? What do we know? How many games last year did Kirk Cousins have fewer than 20 pass attempts? I believe he had a couple of games with fewer than 15 pass attempts. That's what they want to do this year in Cleveland, right? They want to be able to throw it 17, 20, 23 times, but when they do throw, it's going to be downfield. They're going to be looking to make big plays, right? Austin Hooper, I've currently got him projected for around 500 yards, between 4 to 5 touchdowns, but I don't have him projected for more than 50 catches. This is point per reception, right? You need to be drafting players based on the format you're in. So getting a guy like Austin Hooper, especially in the 9th round, such a waste of time. This is also a guy that took Tom Brady. Normally, if he didn't have a single quarterback on his roster and took Tom Brady in the 10th round, that pick I would have given an A. Not his whole draft, but that singular pick I would have given an A. Instead, I gave that pick an F, right? And the reason why, you invested a 6th round pick in Dak Prescott, okay? So how many weeks are you really going to be looking to start Tom Brady over Dak Prescott? And if the answer is more than just the bye week, then why did you invest a 6th round pick in Dak Prescott, right? We need to be thinking about the draft capital we're investing in these assets, guys. So if you're spending that high of a pick in a QB, it better be because you believe this QB is going to just shit all over the league. Like, you better believe this dude is just going to whip his dick out and fuck everyone and everything in sight. Now, in terms of Dak Prescott, I believe he's going to do that. He's watching all these dudes get paid. He's in an offensive situation that, guess what? Kellen Moore is back as play caller. So you remember when this Dallas Cowboys offense became a thing last year and exploded? That was Kellen Moore. Mike McCarthy came in, but guess what Mike McCarthy said? He said, I'm the one that's got to learn. I'm the one that's being brought up to speed. You know what that tells us? They're going to do the same thing, and they might open it up even more because I believe Blake Jarwin is more talented than the corpse of Jason Witten last season. And a lot of the beat reporters are telling me that CeeDee Lamb is more explosive of an athlete than Randall Cobb was. So if you believe in Dak, which I do, why are you wasting a 10th round pick, guys?
Man, they got so many weapons in Dallas right now. They really
Oh,
Exactly,
dude,
right?
Yeah, they're loaded on offense.
So this is the stuff I'm talking about. And again, the other side is, hey, if you believe in Tom Brady and you've got to take, I'm not going to tell you you're crazy. Is it possible Tom Brady could throw for 43, 44 yards and 30 touchdowns?
Nope.
Sure, that's within the range of outcomes. Now, I'm speculative on it, right? Because if you look at Tom Brady, his passing yardage has decreased each of the past 3 seasons. I don't know if that's because of scheme. I don't know if that's because of lacking arm strength. I don't know what it is. But
Hey, that's fine.
Call it just sucking.
Lack arm strength and throw to Chris Godwin in the slot, please, Tom. Please.
Right. Which is why I still like the Chris Godwin, because he is the single wide receiver I would want in Tampa Bay this year. But again, what I'm saying is maybe you believe you're a Tom Brady truther, right? And you're like, nah, man, he's gone for 5,050 TDs. Then what'd you draft Dak Prescott for in the 6th round? So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. We should be cognizant of what we're doing. And then the last thing I'll say about this team is he drafted Chris Herndon, who I like. That's like a sneaky, trendy sleeper pick. But he's got Austin Hooper, right? That's a waste. So you're probably going to end up starting Chris Herndon over Austin Hooper most weeks. Austin Hooper probably isn't going to be on your roster beyond the halfway point in the season. So this is where doing your homework, a little bit of research before the draft could have kept you off of Austin Hooper, and you could probably have a stronger team.
Yeah, because, I mean, based off what you're saying, he could have had, like, a Kyle-like draft. He could have.
Oh, absolutely.
2
I mean,
picks.
things
2
started off
picks, and
really
he's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things started off really well. So, yeah, kind of disappointing. But that's why I had to ding him. Now, Team 10.
This is Don.
This one got better. So the next 2 that were here, spoiler alert, these next 2 are going to be C+ grades, right? Borderline. And this particular one, I'm giving a C+ for Team 10 because there were
I think
some.
this is my second favorite team.
Yeah, because there were some things that they did that I really liked, but what I really appreciated is they actually didn't have. I only had one of their picks with an F grade, right? So, and that pick was their 14th round selection. So again, going Ryan Tannehill. Now, the idea here. Or hold on, was that? Yeah, that's Ryan Tannehill, right? Yeah. So the idea here is, you go Ryan Tannehill. I'm not telling you you're crazy. Yes, he's due for a ton of negative touchdown regression. But the main reason I've got an issue, you took Russell Wilson in the 6th round. Why are you drafting Ryan Tannehill?
Why did Don draft the kicker in the 12th? I just realized that.
Dude, if you're going to draft a
Uh-huh.
kicker, let it be the last pick or don't draft
Why
him.
draft a kicker? I didn't draft a kicker. God, that's so dumb to me.
Yeah, there was a couple teams that did draft a kicker.
Yeah, and so, but again, the big problem I have with that is there's not going to be a single week where you're putting your roster together and you're really asking yourself, am I starting Ryan Tannehill or Russell Wilson this week? That's never going to happen. The only time you're going to start Ryan Tannehill is 1 week, and that's going to be Russell Wilson's bye. Why did you need to draft a guy just to play him in the bye week? Couldn't you have just picked up a guy off waivers and maybe put someone on your bench? Again, like a Boston Scott, like a Chase Edmonds. These are the kind of players we should be looking for at the bottom of the draft because they have huge upside. And on the waiver wire, if someone goes down, those guys are going to be really expensive. So that's some of the stuff that held this guy back from being able to get a B grade. Because there were some things that I really like. You look at the way they started the draft. I mean, they're taking some chances, but I love that they were just hammering running backs and wide receivers with their first 5 picks rather. Getting Darren Waller, I thought they got decent value on him. I thought Deebo Samuel is risky, but with news, he's trending up. I really liked the James White pick that they made. I liked the Jerry Jeudy pick that they made. But again, some of those other mistakes and getting Boston Scott, Chase Edmonds really late is what brought this guy's grade back up.
I love those last 2 picks.
Yeah, I loved those last 2 picks.
Yeah, I just texted Don and said, "Who do you want for Chase Edmonds?"
Dude, that was the best pick in the 16th round, Chase Edmonds.
Hands down.
Looking over it, yeah.
Yeah, and Chase Edmonds is a guy, I mean, just totally love, because again, he's going to be involved already, right? So if something were to happen to Kenyon Drake, who's already been spotted in a walking boot this offseason, then man, you could really have Yahtzee. Going to team 11. So this is one that this is the one that actually came out with the second best grade. This one had a B-. Remember, I gave Kyle a solid B. This one comes in at a B- because I think there were a couple of mistakes that were avoidable in this one. But from a first 4 picks kind of standpoint, this is what I love, right? This is what I think that we should be doing and should be trying to do in drafts. Getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What this tells me is this is a person who, one, is sensitive to the marketplace, right? They can recognize that this is a player who probably shouldn't be here, so they don't overthink it. They just get him. Number 2, this seems like a player who's aware of how the scoring in his league works, right? Like, we're taking Josh Jacobs. Do we really think Josh Jacobs is going to catch 40, 50 balls? Clyde Edwards-Helaire could, right? Why are we taking Nick Chubb when the passing out of the backfield is going to go to Kareem Hunt? I would rather have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? So really, really sharp pick to me right there. And then turning it right around with Kenyon Drake, love it. Now, the big mistake they made is if you get Kenyon Drake, you better get Chase Edmonds. They failed to do so, and they had a lot of opportunities. So I ding them for that.
Dude, and at the time of recording this podcast, Malcolm posted in the group chat, "Don, what do you want for Chase Edmonds?"
That's funny. I just realized he had one.
No, but if Drake's healthy, he's gonna crush.
Yeah, so probably prioritize getting Chase on your team. But again, just look at this draft, right? We go through the first 6, first 7. We have to go all the way to the 10th round before a QB gets selected. Yes. This is what I want people to be doing, because look at how many shots he's got, right? He's got Amari Cooper on the team. He's got Robert Woods on the team. He's got Michael Gallup on the team. He's taken a shot on Manny Sanders. This was one of my least favorite of his picks, especially at that range. But could there be some splash week for Manny Sanders? Who knows? He's taking a shot, right? There's no risk, because if he doesn't pan out, he's already got 3 wide receivers he's going to trust. So I love it. He's just taking shots. Taking a shot on Mecole Hardman, getting Tony Pollard. Larry Fitzgerald was a total waste, right? That was a completely wasted pick. But taking a shot on Curtis Samuel, the way Matt Rule and this coaching staff in Carolina is talking about using this guy. I know we all got fooled a year ago because they were talking about using him all over the place, and it didn't really happen. But why not, right? In the 13th round, just throw a dart. If he hits, you're winning. If he doesn't, you drop him, you pick someone else. This is what we should be doing. Corey Davis. Could he be this year's Devontae Parker? Former first-round draft capital guy? I don't believe in it, because I don't think this offense is going to be able to support 2 fantasy-relevant wideouts. But again, 14th round, take a shot. Who cares? This is what we should be doing in the draft. You only need 1 quarterback on your roster, guys. Take shots on running backs. Take shots on wide receivers, and just see who pans out. See who hits. I do have to ding him, though, because the David Montgomery pick, now, if y'all know, David Montgomery is one of the guys I named as my running back sleepers. The problem I had with him taking David Montgomery in the 5th round is he already had Clyde, he already had Kenyon Drake.
Yep.
Should have just been hammering wide out here.
Messed
right?
up.
Yeah, David Montgomery in the 5th round, I'm cool with if you went with an anchored running back approach, or if you went 0 RB. But when you already got 2 studs, man, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kenyon Drake, what the fuck are you taking a running back for in the 5th round? And again, the big problem I have with this, and I think this is something that's going to come back to haunt you, Malcolm, is you could have had Terry F1 McLaurin. My God, a rookie wide receiver who had 900 yards, 7 touchdowns in the just abysmal situation that Washington was a year ago. This season, they bring Ron Rivera's coaching staff in. Let's not forget, this is the same coaching staff that was toward the top of the league in pass attempts in Carolina last year, led to Christian McCaffrey becoming the fantasy Jesus. I love Terry McLaurin, and I want him everywhere I possibly can get him. You could have got him in the 5th round.
God, I know.
Your wide receiver core just would have been so nasty if you did that. That's what kept this guy's draft from being able to reach a B, but I still gave it a B- because these are some of the core principles and philosophies we want to be applying when we're drafting, right? Getting to the last one.
I'll just say something on Malcolm's team real quick. A pick I loved for the value, Carson Wentz in the 10th. He could be a top 10 quarterback, so I feel like that was really good value. Pick I didn't like, Kyle Rudolph in the 15th. You already had Hayden Hurst, so
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why. And I didn't draft the defense, by the way. I did not draft the defense.
It's got Tennessee right there.
No, this is updated. I had to draft. We have to draft the defense in our league, right, Kyle?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You have to. I drafted a receiver there. I didn't draft. I didn't draft Tennessee's defense. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, I like that even more. Okay, so going on to the last one. This is another one that got back to a really solid C, but tempted to give it a C plus. But I'm going to stick with just a solid C on this one. And kind of the reason why is there actually weren't any picks that I gave an F grade here to. But the only thing that I didn't like was the roster cohesion from a standpoint of thinking about the league you're in, right? So, for example, Josh Jacobs, 1st round, you really can't hate that pick. But is that really the appropriate pick in a 12-man PPR league? I don't believe it.
Could have got Kenyon Drake. I mean,
exactly. Kenyon Drake,
and Austin
Miles
Eckler.
Sanders, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones. These are all backs who are going to be more involved in the pass game than Josh Jacobs. Now, maybe this is a person who, listened to some podcasts, read some articles. They heard Josh Jacobs say that he wants to catch 60 balls this year. Okay. The problem with that is, let's look at their personnel. They brought in Theo Riddick. They drafted Lynn Bowden, who profiles as much more of a wide receiver than he does as a running back. They also drafted a Henry Ruggs and a Brent Edwards. So,
I don't know if this changes your opinion. They cut Theo Riddick and they traded Bowden yesterday.
Ooh, now see, that could get very nice.
Well, we're going to talk about the trades. Hang on, because we'll
talk about the trades after this.
Yeah, because anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say, again, I did this based on what we know going in, right? What did we know going in? And from going in, we didn't know that Josh Jacobs was going to have a clearer path, but things have opened up. I'd seen the Theo Riddick thing. I didn't know they traded Lynn Bowden. I thought they really liked him. So that's news to me. So, hey, Josh Jacobs, things might be looking up. He might have a chance for 30, 40 catches. Julio is a pick I love. Todd Gurley, like you guys know, I already mentioned him as a bust, but I really didn't penalize this guy because I was like, look, maybe they believe in Todd Gurley. They got to take. Okay, so be it. The problem I had with that, though, is they took Cam Akers in the 6th round. This is kind of similar to Malcolm's David Montgomery pick, right? If you believe in Todd Gurley, why are you going right back and investing in another running back in a PPR league in the 6th round? Because, again, my thinking is you guys aren't looking to roster running backs with no pass game involvement in your flex. Or at least I would hope that's not what y'all are looking to do.
I think you just gave everyone a piece of advice.
Maybe.
That's
that's a little scary. If people are planning on playing guys like Raheem Mostert, in the flex or Sony Michel in the flex, my God, like that is so negative EV. In a PPR format, guys, we want to be rostering as many people with targets and catches as we can. It just racks up. Think about a running back. Let's say they run for 15 carries and they get 63 yards, but then they catch 7 passes for 30 yards. That's a huge difference, right? In a PPR league versus in a standard scoring format. So really want to be conscious of that. And the fact that they took Cam Akers here tells me that they're a little nervous about Todd Gurley. Be honest with yourself. If you're nervous about Todd Gurley, don't feel pressured to draft them just because that's what is there, or that's what the ESPN app says, or that's what the projection says. Get your guys in the draft. And that threw me off. The Jamison Crowder pick, I just really didn't like. This is, to me, one of those examples of a zero upside play, right? Best case scenario, Jamison Crowder catches 90 balls, but still has fewer than 800 yards and fewer than 5 touchdowns, right? That's best case scenario. I know we're thinking PPR, but I can guarantee you're never going to be excited to start Jamison Crowder. There's not going to be 1 week where you're like, hey, I got Jamison Crowder in the lineup this week. That's never going to happen. So why not just take a shot on some other guys? Deontay Johnson, Henry Ruggs were still on the board. Why not? So those were some of the things about it that I didn't love. But one of my favorite things that this guy did is waited till the 12th round, took a shot on Cam Newton.
And I like that pick. Taylor
yeah,
was sharp, man.
That's a real good pick, dude.
He was there in the 12th, and everyone else is drafting defenses and kickers. Don't know why, but you go and get Cam in the 12th round.
Yeah.
He might. I'm telling you, the Patriots adapt, and that's how they win all the time. They stay relevant. Cam, I'm high on Cam Newton this year. I think that he's not going to go the fuck off, but I really do think Cam's going to surprise some people. I really do.
And look, here's the argument for Cam, right? Could he be Josh Allen? That's the question. Could Cam Newton be what Josh Allen has been in Buffalo the past 2 years?
Could be.
If he could, you're talking about a top 15 fantasy QB, fringe top 10, right? So, yeah, to be able to get him. And what I really like about this is a guy that took a shot and didn't try to hedge, right? Because in this league, there was a lot of hedging going on with quarterbacks, right? And I don't like that, right? Let's take a stand, because here's the thing. There's going to be quarterbacks you can roster every single week. Guess what, y'all? There's going to be weeks where Teddy Bridgewater scores 20 fantasy points.
Yep.
If you didn't know it, allow me to tell you now. There's going to be weeks where Tyrod Taylor scores 20 fantasy points. Derek Carr, like the list, Gardner Minshew. Like, there's so many guys you're going to be able to just pick up on a week-to-week basis that taking 2 QBs, unless you're looking to play, the matchups every week, just isn't something I like. So I love how they just went with one guy who's got plenty of upside, and they got him so late. I just wish they took more advantage of that by not wasting time on a Cam Akers pick when you already got 2 RBs, or avoiding a Todd Gurley and just hammering wide receivers where you could have had a stacked wide receiver group. You started off with Julio. I mean, imagine who else you could have had at wide receiver 2, then McLaurin at wide receiver 3, still with Mark Andrews. Man, you would have been rolling, right? So these are just examples of some pitfalls people can make. But just to recap, yeah, Kyle's, team 2 easily was my favorite, sticking to a lot of the principles I'm talking about. And my favorite thing, just to recap it again, study those picks from rounds 8 down. This is exactly what we should be looking to do. So much upside baked in. Zach Moss has 10 touchdown upside. If we're in the know, if we're paying attention, then we know that running backs coaches in Buffalo have already said there could be games where Zach Moss is the lead running back. And it makes sense, right? Devin Singletary is a 5'7" guy, didn't get goal line carries last year. Frank Gore was getting more goal line work. Zach Moss profiles way better as a goal line threat. Love him. Deontay Johnson, if you're bullish on the Steelers' passing offense like I am, Deontay Johnson's got a shot at 1,000 receiving yards, guys. He really does. He was able to eat with Duck Rogers and Mason Rudolph last season. He's locked into the wide receiver 2 role, going to be on the outside with Juju in the slot.
Yeah, dude, I will drive up to Pittsburgh and massage Big Ben's arm. Make that thing.
Absolutely. Because that could pan off, yeah.
And then Higbee fell in the 12th, and I felt like I don't really like taking 2 tight ends when I already got Kelsey, but maybe trade bait later.
Sure.
Okay, so just to recap, Aaron, appreciate that. That was great.
Yeah, dude.
Biko's got a C. KY Jelly's got a B+, highest grade, which I knew that was going to happen. Kevin Roberts, C-. Kyle Worley, C-. Thomas Pierta, C. Who's CB? Charlie. D+. JB, Joey, who cares? Auto draft. Brandon Wooten, C. Micah, C-. Don got a C+. I got a B-. Shout out. And Taylor got a C. So now moving on. Okay.
Wait, one more thing for the draft. Aaron hated the Matt Breida pick in the 8th by Thomas. Lynn Bowden got traded yesterday to guess where? Miami.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
okay, so moving in, that's a good segue. Moving into our trades, okay? So we've already, have had some trades go down, okay? So
Okay.
just because I'm on the podcast, I'm going to start with mine first. So I traded away Curtis Samuel and David Montgomery, and I got T.Y. Hilton and Adrian Peterson. I know. So, well, it worked out because Adrian Peterson got picked up by Detroit. So that's whatever. But I needed another receiver. I felt like I needed to get rid of David and get a receiver. So now I can start, because I got now, in my thinking, I was thinking I got T.Y. Hilton, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, and Michael Gallup now, who I can play with as starters, possibly.
Yeah, when I looked at that trade, I get what you were trying to do. Montgomery's hurt. You needed another wide receiver, so you were trying to get a wide receiver, but I felt like you jumped on the first offer that somebody threw out there.
No, Biko was going to give me, so Biko fucked me. Well, no, Biko didn't fuck me. Biko was going to trade me David Montgomery for, I'm scared to tell you this, Aaron. He was going to give me Darius Slayton for David Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone that route.
No.
But I leaned to Kyle. Like, I think I would have held out. You know, I think this is a case where I would have held out. Take a chance that David Montgomery can have a couple splash games early in the season. Hopefully, he can have a game with 100 yards, 2 TDs. Then I know, my opponents are going to be a little bit more interested in him. Then I would hope that maybe I could flip him for someone in around that same draft capital range.
Right.
You know, like, could you flip him for a DJ Shark? Could you flip him for a Marvin Jones Jr., which I think would have been super sharp? A lot of times people, they'll have Marvin on their team, but they kind of don't like him, even though he's got more touchdown equity than Kenny Golladay does when Matt Stafford's on the field, if you look on red zone targets. But, yeah, like, I would have tried to do that. T.Y. Hilton, I mean, I'm off on. I've got no shares of T.Y. this year, not going to. This is an offense that wants to run the football. They want to play defense, run the football, drain out the clock.
So I got trade raped.
I mean,
I wouldn't go that far, but
right, because in your case,
Kevin definitely won the trade.
Yeah, because in your case, David Montgomery wasn't gonna add anything to you, and it's still a long shot that Curtis Samuel was gonna be a consistent starter for you. So to at least get Ty, if he's healthy, I mean, look, he should still get 6 targets a game with Phillip Rivers out there. But
that's why. Listen, what I'm looking at, okay, is Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen. Okay, now I'm looking at Phillip Rivers, T.Y. Hilton. I drafted from a football sense. I really didn't do.
Right.
The only research I did was based off what we've talked about on this podcast.
Right.
I'm thinking in my head from a football sense. Phillip Rivers is coming into a new system. History shows us that quarterbacks that come into a new system, they rely heavy on the veteran receiver that's been there. T.Y. Hilton's been with Indiana forever. So I'm thinking, okay, as a possibility, I can get rid of Curtis Samuel, and I know T.Y. Hilton's going to start, and maybe him and Phillip Rivers create a bond, and now that's his favorite guy, right? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
that was my
reasonable
thinking.
Logic.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's what doesn't make it a trade rate, but yeah.
I know. When I accepted
Like I said,
the
I
trade,
think
I was
the
like,
biggest flaw and the one thing, because I like the draft, but the one thing that could end up being a problem for your team from a winning perspective week to week is you've got Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup with no Dak Prescott. That's just going to be so tilting, man, because there's rarely going to be weeks where they both hit. And it's just going to be really tilting because you're going to see Dallas Cowboys box scores where they scored 37 points. You're going to say, oh shit, I'm probably going off. And you're going to pull it up and Amari Cooper's going to have 4 points. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing about it.
That's why I wanted to get Ty, so I don't have to have that problem.
Well, yeah, if you wanted Ty, looking at the draft, you could have selected him where you took.
Yeah,
Gallup
I know. Listen, you already said that, fuckface. I know if I
I said that in the chat, but yeah.
I know. Listen, you don't think that I'm sitting here going, "Oh, I'm a fucking retard. I should have drafted." Yeah, I know I could have, but I didn't, so I had to make up for it.
No, but I feel like everybody does that in drafts. They look back and say, "Well, if I would have done this different, maybe my team would have a little better."
Look, you've got some assets too. I mean, if something were to happen to Zeke, God forbid. I love Zeke. I don't want to see anything happen.
Tony Pollard, RB1.
I know.
Here we go.
So I was just
We
going
need
to
to knock on some wood right now.
Yeah, if that happens, you're going to be able to flip Tony Pollard for someone for sure. And honestly, if I were you, I mean, obviously other people are going to watch this podcast in your league too, so this might not help that much. But if I were you, I would be waiting for Amari Cooper to have one of those monster games in the first 4 weeks of the season. Hopefully he gets off to a hot start, and I would look to flip him. Unless, look, because here's the deal with Amari Cooper. It's the inconsistency, right?
Yeah.
And there's a chance that CeeDee Lamb starts on the outside, which would allow Amari Cooper to move back into the slot. Now, if Amari Cooper moves back into the slot, you're not going to want to trade him because he's going to be consistent as fuck. Okay.
He went off when he was for Oakland that 1 year he played the slot. Didn't he go off?
Yes, he absolutely crushed. And again, it makes sense, right? It's easier targeting those guys in the slot. We think slot wide receivers, think Cooper Kupp as well, right? Like those kind of roles, it's very easy to pepper those guys with targets, and they just have matchup nightmares, mismatches all the time. But again, that depends reliance on CeeDee Lamb being the starter on the outside.
I don't have trust for and that's the other problem I had is I'm thinking in my head, okay, Dallas, I want Dallas on my team. Their offense is just, I want Dallas on my team somehow. And I got Amari. I was a little excited that he was still there, but I was like, anyway. But moving on, because we can talk about this all day. But let's go to some other trades. I know some other people want to talk about their trades. Kyle, do we even have those written down?
I remember the trade that I made with Charlie. So if you remember, Aaron, Charlie's the guy who took 3 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. My trade offer to Charlie was Antonio Gibson, Baker Mayfield for Matt Ryan. And me and Charlie agreed to terms on that trade, and it went through the league veto process and got shut down.
What?
Yeah.
I knew Kyle was going to bring this up. So in our league, we vote. And on our group chat when Kyle posted that. Now, Kyle, what doesn't help you, hang on, Aaron, let me give you the full thing. Kyle, you are the main collusion person. Like me and you started this league. We literally looked at each other and said, "Oh, we're going to be colluding the entire time." So
year 1 and 2, me and Malcolm were the most colluding people in the league, but that has shifted now.
No, it hasn't, Kyle. You still are the collusion motherfucker. So
okay, but we can't let them know.
Trade, everyone's like, trust that colluding motherfucker. That's what happened.
Okay, so this was a reputation thing.
Absolutely. It had nothing to do about the trade. If you watch the OJ documentary, when they interviewed the jury, she said, "Do you think OJ did it?" She was like, "Yep, but how does it feel, white people?" This is how it was with Kyle. How's it feel, Kyle?
I think this was a case of the league trying to hold the champ down.
No, it's you, dude. Communication's everything.
Maybe, but look, I'll be honest with you, man. I think you kind of benefited from them vetoing that deal because, like Matt Ryan, I fully expect, look, he's going to throw a lot of yards, he's going to throw a lot of touchdowns, but how much more is that going to give you than just playing the matchups? Aaron Rodgers is still going to have a couple of games, right? Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be really easy to predict which games he goes off, right? Because he's very matchup based. So that's going to be pretty easy to guess. And then Baker Mayfield, I think you're going to be able to do the same thing. There's going to be spots when they have a favorable matchup, and you're going to be able to toss Baker Mayfield out there to get you 17, plus fantasy points. And sure, maybe Matt Ryan scored 22 that week, but I don't think that 5-point difference is going to hurt you. Whereas Antonio Gibson, I mean, the seas have parted for this guy. Like, I don't know if y'all read what Adrian Peterson's comments were. Josina Anderson on her Twitter page talked to AP like right after he got cut. And per Adrian Peterson, he believes that the reason he got cut is because they, quote unquote, want one guy that can do it all. And quote, that he had been working on the things that they wanted their running backs to do and thought he'd been doing well, but Antonio Gibson's a really good player. So per Adrian Peterson, he got cut because Antonio Gibson is about to get the work. This is a guy in camp who's been in the running back meeting rooms. He's been in the wide receiver meeting rooms. In college, I believe he had twice as many receiving yards as rushing, but is 6'2", 220 pounds. And again, this is a coaching staff in Washington that just coached Christian McCaffrey the past few years, guys.
I was just about to bring that up.
And again, I'm not saying Antonio Gibson's Christian McCaffrey by any stretch. Okay, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this is clearly a coaching staff that likes using their running backs creatively. Adrian Peterson's comments confirms that that's why he got released, is because he couldn't hack it lining up in the slot or running these routes out of the backfield. So Antonio Gibson, I love. I'm trying to get him on every team.
Yeah. So Kyle, we helped you, and so real quick, and I just like 10-second answer. Adrian Peterson, Detroit. Should I just drop him now, or do you think he's going to get some work?
I mean, I wouldn't drop him yet, just because you have time. Just wait. We don't have preseason. Let's see week 1. Clearly, they don't like Kerryon Johnson for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's what that's kind of interesting to me, right? You got Kerryon and you pick up Adrian. Why?
You drafted DeAndre Swift. You bring in AP. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hurt right now. Kerryon's been hurt his entire NFL career, basically. So wait and see on that.
I don't know. Maybe AP, goes off. Anyways, okay, moving on. So
it could be like Garrett Blunt when he was there. Remember that season he racked up some TDs.
I texted Thomas had a trade that he offered to Brandon. He hasn't texted me yet, but
yeah, I think I know the trade you're talking about, and the rumor mill around J.K. Dobbins in our league has been heating up. A couple teams have inquired about J.K. And
so what was the trade?
The trade. I don't want to give away anything and league to be mad at me, but J.K. Dobbins for Chris Thompson. Thomas picked up Thompson off waivers after the Fournette news.
No, Thomas offered him 3 players for J.K. Dobbins.
In the same trade?
Yeah. Thomas texted me. Gosh darn it, he needs to text me. He offered 3 players for J.K. Dobbins. I think he offered him Marlon Mack. I know that. He offered him 3 players for J.K. Dobbins. And who the fuck is J.K. Dobbins, by the way?
Who is J.K. Dobbins?
What?
J.K. Dobbins is the new rookie running back in Baltimore. They invested.
Oh, he's a guy from Ohio. He's a guy from Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's in Baltimore?
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't they use a late first-round pick on him?
It was either late first or early second.
Yeah, something like that, right? Pretty high draft capital for a running back. And yeah, I get it. The buzz on J.K. Dobbins out of camp has been ridiculous all summer. The guy's just been
good for you. Was it Baltimore?
Yeah, making catches over linebackers and safeties, running, well. John Harbaugh already came out and said he's going to have a role, which I really didn't think was that big of a deal because he had no shit. You drafted this guy toward the top. You're obviously going to give him work. The caution I have on J.K. Dobbins, and a reason why I'm a little bit more interested in investing in a PPR league in Antonio Gibson for sure, but even in a guy like Zach Moss, is because in Baltimore, number one, Mark Ingram isn't going anywhere. And I think this is another thing that a lot of times fantasy players don't consider too much. When quote unquote new shiny toys come into a team, we really get hype about these rookies, and we have to remember that these teams are made up of people, right? Coaches are people too. And there's a lot of politics that goes into playing time and snap rates. So when we think about a guy like J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram is beloved in that locker room. He's beloved in that organization. He's still going to get work. Also, we shouldn't forget Gus Edwards. They really like Gus Edwards in Baltimore. I think you would be surprised if you did a deep dive.
They still have Gus Edwards?
Gosh.
Yeah. Oh, dude, come on.
I think you would be surprised if you looked into the numbers for them last season. I'm pretty sure Gus Edwards had over 100 carries.
I had Gus Edwards on my team last year. I know what he did, and it wasn't bad.
Right. So to say that J.K. Dobbins is going to come in and just take all the Gus Edwards work, I think is really aggressive. But also to come in and say he's going to take Mark Ingram's work, I think is just a little bit out of line. What feels much more reasonable to me is that Antonio Gibson could see 55% of the snaps in Washington, see 3 or 4 targets a game. That feels realistic. I think Zach Moss could finish the season with more carries, and I 100% expect him to finish the year with way more attempts inside the 10 than Devin Singletary does. So again, with the touchdown upside, like if I were in a dynasty league, oh yeah, I would be taking J.K. Dobbins. But for redraft this year, there still are a couple of the rookie running backs I like a little bit more.
Yeah, and Thomas was saying that he wanted to draft J.K. because he wanted the handcuff with Mark Ingram. But
that makes sense.
It makes sense.
I get that.
I get it. Hey, and it's not – he was an offer 3 players for one guy who's a rookie. So –
I mean, if you're giving up guys like Marlon Mack, Chris Thompson, that's fine.
Yeah, there was Marlon Mack, Chris Thompson, and one more dude that he was going to offer, and Brandon denied the trade. So, I mean, if I was Brandon, I would have took it just because I'm getting 3 players, right? Why not? And I'm giving away a rookie who's going to start behind Gus. I know there's a lot of hype, but that's the thing about football is – here's the thing, okay? Football training camp is different than playing on Sundays. It's very different, okay? You see, you in just playing football, you practice against people, and in practice, you do really well. But then comes game time, dude, you're playing in the NFL against people you're not showering with after practice. They want to kill you. So I think that there's very rare that rookie running backs come in from a fantasy standpoint and go off. I mean, McCaffrey's
it's rare, and the times when it happens is because, and again, this is like my thing too, and I'll just add this caveat in. A lot of times we're listening to podcasts and whatever, and people are always talking about the talent. Oh, this guy's talented. Oh, this guy's not talented. I make one single assumption every year when I'm beginning my fantasy football research, and that single assumption is everybody's talented, right? That's the assumption I make. This is the NFL. These guys are getting paid professionally to play football. They're all good. I hate it when I hear a podcast and they say, "Oh, that dude's like not good at football." Like, fuck you. You're not good at football. These are people
I can't stand that. You didn't even make it in the NFL, you fat fuck. So leave it.
I hate it, right? And some of those people, like on their Twitter, they'll say stuff like this guy, JJ Zacharizon. He had tweeted something about how like J.D. McKissick wasn't going to be involved in some backfield because he's like only 190 pounds or something. And J.D. McKissick tweeted him back and was like 198. So like I love that. I love that kind of stuff because I think a lot of times as fantasy football players, we're so in our head and like evaluating assets. But we got to remember, like, these are football players. These are people. Like, they have put in a lot of work to be here. So because of that, I evaluate players 100% on opportunity and situation.
Exactly.
That's it. I don't give a damn if a player is good, if he's bad, if he's slow, if he's fast, if he's old. I don't care, because what does that mean? First of all the people talking about that stuff on podcasts, they're not scouts. They're not people who get paid to evaluate talent for NFL teams. So why would I care what their opinion is? Number two, the only opinion on the talent of players that matters is the coaches, because they're the ones who decide who's on the field. So I try to diagnose, what's the situation here? What's the opportunity I can reasonably project this player to get? So to your point, Malcolm, the only rookie running backs I invest in are ones where, one, I know the coaching staff has the full confidence, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire for this example. Exactly. Yeah. Or number two, where the situation looks like, hey, this guy might get some opportunity, like a Zach Moss. So yeah, for JK, he's a guy that I haven't taken in any mock drafts. I don't have any exposure to him for my teams yet. I don't plan on getting any exposure. Now, if JK is sitting there in like 10th or 11th round or something crazy, I'll throw a dart. Why not? But oftentimes you're having to take him, in like those first 8 rounds, which no way for me. I mean, I'd rather be getting guys like Antonio Gibson, Zach Moss, or, loading up on wide receivers or something like that. But, I get it. There's people who have to have the hype. If Mark Ingram gets hurt, it could definitely be a big show. Because I'm not saying Gus Edwards is still going to get work ahead of J.K. Dobbins. But what I'm saying
is
split
the workload probably.
And I'm just saying that I feel like people are evaluating him as if Gus Edwards is no longer a thing.
Which,
and I just think
Baltimore loves Gus. We know that.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Love Gus Edwards.
Dude, I actually watched the J.K. Dobbins college highlight video the other day. Y'all got to check that out. It is sick.
Yeah, we know. Nice. Anyway, so
as a Ravens fan, I'm excited about.
Yeah, you got to be excited.
You should be.
And look, he's wearing the number 27. I'm getting my Ray Rice vibes, okay, without the domestic abuse, okay. But I remember Ray Rice, man. That was a fantasy rock star. I loved Ray Rice because he was
Yep.
getting all the carries, all the goal line work,
And he knocked
5
his wife
targets
out
a
in an
game.
elevator.
My God, if JK can become that, we are going to be drafting JK Dobbins in the first round for years to come, guys.
Okay.
Yep.
So kind of wrap it up here. The last thing, trading. So we've talked about some trades that have already transpired in our league. Give me 2 things, okay, that you think that are most important trading wise?
The number one thing, and again, you know me, I'm always being philosophical with this stuff, but the number one thing is know yourself. And what I mean by that is understand your team, understand what the situation on your team is, and understand where your deficiencies are. That requires being completely honest with yourself. Like if I have a Amari Cooper take and I love him, I think he's going to catch 1,500 yards this year. I need to be honest with myself and recognize that that's a take.
Yes.
The median projection is probably much shakier. So with that in mind, I can recognize, hey, having Amari as my wide receiver 1 might be a little bit of a weak spot. Or if I'm looking at, my squad and let's say I've got, a couple of running backs on my team, like team 12, you sitting there, you've got Todd Gurley and Josh Jacobs. Maybe you recognize I might have took on a little bit more risk than I really wanted to with Todd Gurley. So in those situations, that's how I'm going to begin thinking about framing my trades. I'm not just trading because it's something I heard in the news. I'm not just trading because some guy's cool and I was like, oh man, I really wish I had him on my team. I'm trading very specifically to address weaknesses on my roster. So the second thing I would say is once you know yourself, know your opponent, right? You should, if you're going to send a trade request and you don't know who's on that roster for the team you're sending a request to, you're doing it wrong. Understand who they have, because guess what that's going to help you do? It's going to help you make a better offer. For example, think about the trade that Kyle just talked about he tried to do. I've got a hunch, and in fact, I already know that Kyle made that trade very specifically because he knew, hey, my opponent's loaded up on QBs, not possibly going to be able to play them all. They might go for this deal. Let me send them this trade request. And guess what? Got accepted, right? But it got vetoed by the league. So that's being cognizant of not only yourself, being honest with yourself. Maybe, Kyle said, I really like Aaron Rodgers. I really like Baker Mayfield. But he might have recognized I might be taking on more risk at the position than I want. How can I shore myself up? And a lot of times when I'm in a league and I'm going to send a trade, I might take 30 minutes literally just scrolling through my opponent's rosters and trying to understand who has what. And where I'm going to try to make those trades is I'm going to try to address my weakness with another team's strength. So if I feel like I have a deficiency at wide receiver, I want to shore myself up, I'm not just going to trade to whatever team has a wide receiver I like or something like that. I'm going to send a trade request to a team that's got like 4 or 5 really good wideouts, right? And maybe I'm going to try to ask for one of their 5th or 4th wideouts who has a really nice ceiling, but they've already got a roster that has 3 studs, so they probably aren't going to care to give me that guy. So I think that's a way you can go about making trades a lot smarter. When it comes to receiving a trade request, I think it's really important to do those same steps and be honest with yourself about what your team situation is from a strength and weakness standpoint. And I'm only accepting trades if it's addressing a weakness on my team or if it's making me stronger. So I'm not just swapping players. I'm not just making trades for the sake of trading. I'm very, very targeted and specific about trades I make and trades I accept. Really good example of this was a couple years ago, and Kyle, you talk about in your league, you got a bit of a reputation. I got a bit of a reputation in my league as well from a couple of seasons ago. And this wasn't collusion. This was an honest thing. This was the season Kareem Hunt actually got suspended, right? So mind you, during the season, he was
sad day in Chiefs history.
Yeah, he was crushing, and then
Hey, it worked out for the Chiefs though.
Yeah, kind of did. But he was crushing, and then the news came out, and he got released. Well, at this time, this was also the season that Mitch Trubisky had like a couple 5 touchdown games, And if you recall, Malcolm, this was the year I drafted Patrick Mahomes in like the 10th round of like all my leagues. And I was on Patrick Mahomes, and I loved it because people were down on him because he was throwing all those picks. You remember, Malcolm? That preseason, he was throwing those interceptions. What did I say?
I was like, hey, remember? I was like, I don't know about this guy, man.
Exactly right. And remember what I said at work? I was like, no, I love it. I hope he throws like 2 picks every preseason game because it's going to help me get him late. And the reason why, this is a really good example, right? I didn't know a damn thing about Patrick Mahomes. I didn't know how talented this guy was, and I didn't care. All I knew is he was about to be the starting QB in an Andy Reid offense with weapons like Tyreek, Travis Kelce, and Kareem Hunt. And I was like, give me this guy. And my other QB that I really liked that year was Mitch Trubisky. This was Matt Nagy's first year in Chicago. And say what you want about Mitch Trubisky, well, like I said, he had multiple 5 TD games. So anyway, I had these guys on my team. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky's riding pine. Someone sends me a trade request. Now, this is a team where I already had drafted Julio Jones and Michael Thomas. I was rolling, right? Very good season. And I get a trade request of someone offering me Antonio Brown. Mind you, this is still in Pittsburgh, okay? Mm-hmm. Offers me Antonio Brown and Kareem Hunt. In exchange, they wanted Mitch Trubisky and Kenyon Drake. And Kenyon Drake had just come off of like back-to-back 2 touchdown games. I accepted that deal immediately, right? Because even though I was already really strong at wide receiver, Kareem Hunt was a guy, Kenyon Drake was a guy that I had literally picked up off waivers like 4 or 5 weeks before that and had just gotten a couple really good weeks out of him.
He's going in the 2nd round.
Exactly, right? Get really good weeks out of him.
Well, he played for Miami, so.
Right, and exactly, with Adam Gase still there. Mitch Trubisky was a guy who was just killing it, but he was on my bench because I had Mahomes. So it was a no-brainer situation to be able to do that. But that trade, I think, exemplifies multiple things, right? You want to be in positions where your strengths are getting like overpowered strengths. And so this is how I ended up with the reputation, because the next time teams faced me, I had Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown.
Good God.
And people were just like, wait a second, how did he get all these guys? Blah, 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 blah. And I was just arguing with some of the guys in my league the other day in a group chat. And someone was saying, yeah, you made these BS trades because you got Patrick Mahomes and Julio and Michael Thomas and AB. And I was like, bro, I drafted Mahomes. I drafted MT and I drafted Julio. Like, don't be mad at me for accepting a deal. But that's an example of what can happen by just always thinking about your bench. If you're keeping assets on your bench, you're always going to be able to make trades. You're always going to be able to get stronger. And you know, I've told you this before, Malcolm. I believe you win your championships by the moves you make in the second half of the year or early in the year in the waiver wire. Just sitting pat off of your drafted team is never a strategy that's worked for me in winning a championship. I always have someone in my starting lineup in the championship game that I either traded for or picked up off waivers.
Nice.
Yeah, and I feel like on my team, now that y'all vetoed the Antonio Gibson deal, that actually benefits me, so F y'all. But I got Tyler Higbee, and you look at some of these other tight ends, like he's available, because some of y'all are starting Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron, I like, man. Don't sleep on Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron could be a stud. The only thing I don't love about him is Vance McDonald is still on the roster. But come on, guys. Like, we can't believe Vance McDonald is going to get work ahead of Eric Ebron. Reports out of camp, this guy's just looking like a star. And the other thing is, this is probably the best situation we've seen him in, right? Eric Ebron, I think, had one season where he got to play with Andrew Luck. But I think this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, you look at not only the QB, but you got Juju, you got Deontay Johnson. They really like this kid, Chase Claypool. You got James Conner out of the backfield. I think there's so many weapons. It's going to be impossible for teams to deal with Eric Ebron. And like I said, reports out of camp is Pittsburgh Steelers defense can't handle him. They can't handle Eric Ebron whatsoever. And guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is going to be fucking good. So I'm all aboard Eric Ebron. Blake Jarwin was my other sleeper. But no, you're right. Like Tyler Higbee, if he gets off to a really hot start, the way they finished last season, you're going to have somebody wanting to get him from you. And the fact that you've already got Travis Kelce, hell, You might even have somebody wanting Travis Kelce. Like you're going to have a lot of optionality there, for a trade.
I got something. So go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I threw out a couple trades. I know I threw out some to Biko, Thomas, Charlie, Micah, probably. Counter offer. Like, if you don't like the trade, don't just reject it, not say anything. Throw a counter offer. Text me on the side. Let's have a chat about it.
That's a good point.
It is a good point. So I do want to do this real quick, and Kyle, I haven't even told you about this. We're going to end it on this, okay? So each of us is going to select our Super Bowl pick because it's the week of football.
Okay, we can do that too, but I was thinking let's pick our waffle loser and our jersey winner for this year.
Ooh, I like that.
You like that? And we'll do a Super Bowl pick too, so we'll do 3 picks.
So Aaron, let's go. Aaron, go first. Okay, so the punishment in our league is you have to sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours or eat how many waffles?
No, so you sit in the Waffle House for 24 hours, and each waffle that you eat deducts an hour that you have to be at Waffle House.
Oh,
that's the punishment this year.
That is great.
Yes.
And on the podcast, we'll probably do hopefully a weekly podcast where we'll interview
we'll do a weekly
team. We'll interview teams and then break down the week and stuff.
So, Aaron, based off what you know about the trades and the draft and everything, who do you got as winner or loser?
Well, I'm going to start off with the last place projection. I'm just going to go with the person that had the worst draft grade, which was Team 6.
Charlie.
So who was that? CB.
Yeah.
Plus, again, just a little bit off the record, I expect Lamar Jackson to miss a couple of games this season. As a Ravens fan, I'm kind of hoping that happens because I want us to win the Super Bowl and follow the Patrick Mahomes path. So I'm just a little bit nervous about that. Le'Veon, dude, this situation for Le'Veon is just getting so bad, man. And I'm really feeling bad for him because going into the draft, I was like, ooh, Le'Veon Bell could be a great post-high sleeper this year, right? Or I should say going into the summer. But then Adam Gase just keeps Adam Gasing, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. First, they signed Frank Gore. Then they're talking up Frank Gore. Then they trade for Kalen Ballage. Think about that for a second. An NFL franchise issued a trade for Kalen Ballage. They just have no idea what they're doing over there. I think this is going to be another just frustrating season for Le'Veon.
Yeah, I feel like Adam Gase and Kalen Ballage are like boyfriend.
He's just, and this is what I'm talking about, right? Like the politics. Frank Gore is one of Adam Gase's guys. Kalen Ballage is one of Adam Gase's guys. And he's given those guys work ahead of people who are obviously more talented. And you know me, I'm not a talent guy, but when we see what Kenyon Drake has done, the guy's clearly more talented than Frank Gore at this point of his career. We've seen Kalen Ballage with opportunities. So again, these are some of the tea leaves. He's going into this year, that Team 6 with Le'Veon as his RB2. I think that's going to be a problem. He's lacking a lot of upside at wide receiver. Tyreek Hill's your number 1, but Jarvis Landry is the kind of guy that should be your wide receiver 3, right? He's not going to be a ceiling player. He's just going to be really, really consistent. Joshua Kelly was a waste. I don't know what this guy was doing. I guess, he must have read something somewhere or something, but Joshua Kelly's not going to get work ahead of Justin Jackson, who went 4 rounds below him. Kerryon Johnson we already talked about it. It's a disaster for Kerryon right now. Jared Cook, why? You're never going to start Jared Cook when you've got Hunter Henry on your team. And as far as touchdown regression goes, huge negative touchdown regression candidate. This guy caught I want to say less than 50 balls, but had almost 10 touchdown catches. It just doesn't add up. It was very Mark Ingram-esque kind of ridiculous efficiency.
Yeah.
So that's the guy I'm going with to finish last.
So Charlie, if you don't want to stuff your face with waffles, try trading Watson and Matt Ryan for some players.
All right, who do you got as the winner, Aaron?
You're going to be pissed, but right now I'm going to go with Kyle. That was the team that I think easily had the best draft grade. And like I said, it wasn't super close. I think he just really kind of dominated this draft. Obviously, there's some mistakes that are Ronald Jones, hindsight 2020. That's really just going to be a wasted spot. But my God, I just love the upside on this roster. DK Metcalf, man, you're talking 900 yards as a rookie. I think he had 6 touchdowns. You mean to tell me this guy's not going to clear 1,000 this year? like such a lock for
Hell of a
1,000
draft,
receiving
Kyle.
yards.
Hell of a draft pick. Right
Mr.
there.
Unlimited.
I could have.
Yeah,
I'm mad
right.
at myself because I could have drafted DK Metcalf
I
instead of
know.
Montgomery, and that
Yeah.
really hurt me, man. That
No.
I'm sitting here going, why? And I knew from a football standpoint that DK Metcalf is going to go off. I mean, it's going to be a Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson Metcalf show this year. It really is.
That's what it was last year, and that's another good example too. I love investing in passing offenses where the production is so narrow, right? So with Kansas City, for example, Kelsey's going to eat. Ty Freak is going to eat. I love that. Seattle, it's going to be Tyler Lockett. It's going to be DK. I love that. What I don't like is investing in passing offenses that are going to be ambiguous, like Arizona. Guys, DeAndre Hopkins ain't getting 30% of targets on a per game basis in Arizona.
No,
right? Larry Fitzgerald led that team in receiving yards last season. I don't think a lot of people know that. He's still going to get work. This is also a coaching staff that Cliff Kingsbury was quoted as saying that he should have gotten Andy Isabella more involved last season.
Yeah,
So
he's taken a college approach to the
that's exactly what
spread
he
and
wants
spray,
to do.
as I say, spread and spray, where he's just going to give everyone, from a fantasy standpoint, it's going to be a nightmare. Outside of
Exactly.
Kenyon Drake, I mean, really, because everyone's going to eat a little instead of
Yep.
a lot.
I think it's going to be so frustrating on the DeAndre Hopkins this year.
Yeah,
Um,
hopefully Aaron didn't put the curse on me there, but
I hope he did.
Yeah.
So I hope he did. So who do you got winning the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, obviously, man, I'm going Baltimore.
Yeah, you have to.
But listen, it's not just a homer pick. Like I said, I think it's really kind of creepy, right? Like
It's right
how
here.
perfectly Lamar Jackson is following the Patrick Mahomes path.
Yeah.
Like step for step, year for year, it's like literally the same.
Madden cover.
Got the Madden cover, so Madden curse is on the books.
Yeah.
Like I fully expect him to miss a couple of games, pick up a knock, week 3, week 4, be out for a few games, force everyone else to step up. Then he comes back. I will say Tennessee is looking kind of scary though.
Yeah.
They just signed Jadeveon Clowney.
oof.
And this is a situation where Mike Vrabel has just been instilling a system, right? Like he's been really building a program.
The Patriot
Right?
way.
They have like a clear team identity, which I think is so critical. Really kind of underrated when people evaluate NFL teams, having a set identity.
The locker room, people who win the championships have that's what I'm saying. Like Mike Vrabel's the type of coach that's scary because every player's gonna love him.
Exactly.
And he played the game, and he's got Super Bowls, and you can just tell that. I mean, I hate to say this, Aaron, they beat you guys last year,
Yeah.
and they only beat you because they had so much chemistry. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. I mean, that's just the kind of. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So the Titans, they're my dark horse.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Baltimore.
Okay, Kyle, your turn.
All right, so waffle projection.
Yeah.
I am gonna go with Kyle Worley.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's team 4. Took Patrick Mahomes 4th overall. I like the Eckler move, and then who's his wideout on this team? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Marquise Brown, AJ
Yeah.
Green, Sterling Shepard, Deshaun Jackson.
Golden
Yeah,
Tate.
that's a little dicey. Man.
A little rough, homie.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going with. He's gonna eat the waffles this year. Lattimore jersey.
Yeah.
Beside myself, I'm gonna pick Don.
Okay.
I like
Which
what he
one
did
was
early,
that?
and that's team 10.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Michael Thomas, Aaron Jones, Mike Evans, Jonathan Taylor, Keenan Allen, Russell Wilson. So
And that's
His first-
first Team 10. Like I said, I would have had a way higher grade for him. I just did not like the way he handled the bottom of the draft.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
He
I like
drafted-
his team a lot.
Yeah.
And then Super Bowl, I'm gonna take Tampa Bay beating Dallas in the NFC Championship
Ooh.
game. So I
Wow.
got Tampa Bay going to the Super Bowl, first year,
What?
Tom Brady. Yep. And then
who are you?
and then AFC Championship, I got Kansas City beating Baltimore, and then
Yeah.
unfortunately Patrick Mahomes beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
First of all, unfortunately,
Oh,
that's a hot take.
back to back. Hey, when is the last time that happened outside of New Orleans?
I don't know. I'm calling it though.
I don't think it's happened.
'Cause I think it's been a long time, bro.
Dude, I don't,
Like if we're
listen, the Chiefs aren't. Let me just go here for a second. So, I have winning the league. Well, the waffle person, I'm gonna either. God, it's so hard. I'm going Charlie. I really do. I think that he's going to be out of this league. He came in at the last minute. He's already colluding and trying to draft every quarterback. I think that he's not even going to start. I think he's not even going to do his lineups. I really think that he's going to come last. Winning, I hope myself, because I'm going anti-fragile this year. But I would say you, Kyle, based off your team. I hate to say it, but I mean, you've got. Listen to this. DK, Zach Moss, Deontay, Antonio Gibson. It's just like, Yes. And you're getting them late in the draft. So if they pan out, then you've got trade bait / who the fuck am I going to start that's going to go off this week? So
they all four have league winning potential.
Yeah. And so I'm really hoping, like seriously hoping that like half your team gets hurt. Like I really hope that happens. Really bad. But anyway, so then a Super Bowl pick. I've got Baltimore. I think it's time. I think that the Chiefs make it to the AFC Championship. I think it's going to be a rematch between the Chiefs and the Ravens. And I think that, and you know me, Aaron, I predict Chiefs games almost scarily. I really think that's going to be a defensive game, and that Ravens are going to kick a late field goal to win it. I've got them going. And I think that Dallas could easily make it to the Super Bowl if their defense even plays in the middle of the pack this year. Yeah. They just got too many weapons to not be good. So that's what I got.
Yeah, and I was talking crap on your David Montgomery trade, but the one thing you did predict a couple podcasts ago was the Chiefs' backup running back. I was on here clamoring for Washington. They cut him, so it's going to be Darrell Williams, I think is his name.
Yeah. Or Darwin Thompson.
Yeah, one of them.
I like Darwin, but I know the last podcast too. I didn't want to get Clyde Edwards. I'm not high. Trust me, I did not want to take him there. I really didn't. But looking at the draft, I was like, there's just no way I could not pick him up from like a football sense. There's just no.
The only other direction is if you went Miles Sanders there instead, I wouldn't have been mad at you. But no, the funny thing is, Malcolm, I did a 12-man draft yesterday for my personal league, 12-man full PPR. And I was faced with a similar situation. It was the 11th pick. People did some crazy stuff in the first round. And I was sitting there with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing here? So I just took him. So I had, and actually, you know what? Everybody, I've been on this thing, and I do all this talking about drafts. There's probably somebody that was like, well, who the fuck did this guy take? What's on his team, right?
Yeah.
So let me pull up because I like I said, I'm in a 12-man PPR league.
So it's very similar. You had the 11th pick, which is what I had.
11th pick. My team, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Juju Smith-Schuster, Calvin Ridley.
Juju fell to the 3rd round?
Yep, Juju, Calvin Ridley, DJ Shark, Michael Gallup. I got Ben Roethlisberger as my QB, Blake Jarwin at my tight end. Bench, I've got Antonio Gibson, Henry Ruggs, Preston Williams, Zach Moss, Boston Scott. Picked up Darrell Williams as the Clyde Edwards-Helaire handcuff as well. Yep. And for perspective, the roster construction in this is a little bit different. We have no kicker in this league. We just have 3 wide receivers and a flex. So my 4 wideouts are Juju, Calvin, DJ Shark, and Michael Gallup.
Yeah, it's solid.
God damn, dude. You went that's a solid draft. You gotta be happy with that.
That's why you're my guy, Aaron, dude. We got Gibson together, Preston Williams together.
Yep.
Wait a second. Is Chase Edmonds on the waiver?
I believe he's on Don's team.
No, I'm looking at the players right now and he's available. So
he dropped him.
Hey, let me hang on while I'm doing this now. Fuck that. I'm betting some money here.
Freebie, man.
So what would your fab be for that?
$20.
Well, why are you telling me?
Yeah, I was about to say you shouldn't put it out there, man, or make sure you wait to post the recording of this.
Yeah, he was dropped.
Yeah, I'm betting for him right now. Kyle, fuck off.
What if I bet
off,
for him?
Kyle,
Then you'll have to trade with me.
hey, fuck off. Okay. You don't get to do that just because we're doing the podcast. So that's how that's gonna stay. Anyway,
and I just wanted to point out too, for that draft I was talking about, We don't have a draft board like y'all have, which I love this thing. So we didn't have that. So it's not as easy for me to go through the picks, but just so y'all know, like I really am drafting based on these principles I'm talking to you guys about. You know, my first 2 picks were Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders. Then I just hammered wide receiver with my next 4 picks. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? Don't you feel better if you've got a wide receiver crew where every single guy in there you love and you can't wait to play? That's what I want, because, you know, I like having fun when we play fantasy football. Let's have guys that we can have some fun with, you know, is not a snooze fest. You'll also notice only 1 tight end on my roster, only 1 quarterback on my roster. I got Blake Jarwin in the 13th round. And if you remember, Malcolm, that's in the range I was taking Mark Andrews everywhere.
Yeah, last year. Shout out for you last year on that pick, because I would never have drafted him.
Yeah, and Blake Jarwin to me is another guy that's just like that. I think I mentioned him as a sleeper. I won't go over all the good stuff again, but just took 1. And then Ben Roethlisberger, just 1 QB, just taking a shot, right? And guess what? If he fails, I'm going to be able to pick up a guy every single week who's viable. So
Yeah.
This stuff I'm talking about, you know, for those of you listening or watching this, you know, imagine having a bench where you've got Gibson, Henry Ruggs, Preston Williams, Zach Moss, right? Then you've got handcuffs correlated to who you took at the top of the draft in Boston Scott, Darrell Williams. This is achievable. And this is the kind of draft strategy that I've been implementing the past few years. And for reference, in this particular league, which draft I just read off, I've been in the championship game 6 consecutive seasons.
Good God.
And I've won 4 of those years. So,
I mean, you know what you're talking about, obviously. I mean, yeah, you know everything about Fitzy. It's what you do. So we appreciate you coming on before our season starts. I can't describe the feelings I have that the game opener for NFL is the Chiefs on Thursday night. I will be at a bar watching that game.
Give me your notes. How do you see that game going?
I'm nervous. I think that it's going to be a shootout. I really do.
Okay.
I think that our defense is still, a lot of people are coming back, but I think that with just coming off the Super Bowl win, we're going to have a little bit of that hangover. Slack, hangover that happens to every team. Chiefs are not perfect. It's going to happen to us. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm going low 30s maybe for each team, high 20s. But I think that we pulled out just because we got the experience. And I think that Houston has too many new pieces. They got rid of DeAndre, and they got Brandon Cooks. It's going to take time for him to get used to the offense. We're already coagulated, if you will. So I think it's going to be a shootout closer than people expect. Chiefs are not going to blow them out. Not at all. It's going to be a close game. I think that this game is going to be a fantasy football session from just me personally. I really do. I think that Deshaun's going to go the fuck off. Pat Mahomes. I think maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a show out game. Gets people excited, but not too excited, you know? So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking Clyde Edwards-Helaire might end up being a little bit more quiet in this game.
I think so.
Than people expect. I think Darrell Williams will be more involved week 1 than people expect. And I'm with you on the Deshaun Watson thing, because, you know, I'm asking because I'm going to be playing on DraftKings.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm already
that,
thinking kind of contrarian, man. You look at how often they target their tight ends. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Akins caught one of the touchdown passes. Wouldn't be surprised if Randall Cobb caught one of the touchdown passes. And I'm leaning toward fading Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks.
I would 100% fade them.
And the other contrarian thing, I think this might end up being David Johnson's best game of the year. Like, I think David Johnson might get a lot of work in this one.
He has to.
I hope you're right.
It's the first look. I'm saying this. It's going to be, and I could be wrong. You always say that I don't know everything, but I just think that usually the first game of the year is not some kind of like defensive struggle. It's like they're excited to play. It's going to be, I mean, usually home openers like on like a game that's played where no one else is playing. I think the hype is just going to be like ball flying around. I think it's going to be high scoring. I would definitely, if I was betting money, I wouldn't play Helaire. You know who I would play? You know, and those little things you do, the 1-game slates or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a hot take, but I think Sammy Watkins is going to go the fuck off.
I love that. Yeah.
I think Sammy's going to go off this game. I really do. I really do.
I love that.
I think he's going to be like that, just like last year. He had a huge game, and then he's quiet the rest of the season. But this year, I think that Sammy's going to
TDs and
2
nothing.
TDs, 120 yards. He's the one who kind of pulls us to get the W at the end of the game. I really do. If I was betting money, I'd have Sammy everywhere.
Love that. Yeah. I'm going to change my lineups immediately because I honestly forgot. Yeah, but I really love that call.
Anyway.
It looks like Don dropped Chase Edmonds for John Brown. Because Taylor dropped John Brown like week 1 or right after the draft.
Oh, if I can get Chase without having to trade, oh, God, that'd be great. I'd have Tony Pollard and Chase Edmonds on my team.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean,
or
that's
I'll pick up Chase and you'll have to trade me Tony.
No, that's not how this works, Kyle.
Guess you better up your bid, man, because he already knows $20.
Aaron, shut the fuck up! What are you doing here, man? Well, everybody, thank you for listening in our league. Aaron, thank you for shitting all over us for our drafts. That was hilarious. Me and Kyle had the best grades. Not surprised there. But I'm very excited. What we can do is maybe have you on mid-season, kind of judge where everyone's at, their records, give us some of your takes, halfway through the season. But no, we appreciate all the advice. And for everyone listening, go fuck yourselves and let's watch some football.
Let's get it.